Okay, so welcome everybody. So today we're trying to do a class check. We want to know the students on the call so that we can adapt the training for newbies, people getting into cybersecurity. And we want to go take the training slightly a little bit deeper. But before we do that, today we just want to do a check. So two things. If you're coming into cybersecurity, there are two ways or two paths you can go through. You could say, okay, I want to do technical cybersecurity, or I want to do non-technical cybersecurity. So if you want to do non-technical cybersecurity, it then means you're doing things like GRC, things like compliance, things like security awareness, things like content writing. I did a comprehensive video on non-technical cybersecurity career paths. I will drop it in the group, right? Non-technical cybersecurity part. So if for somebody that says, no, I don't like all this coding, I don't want network, all of these jargons, I'm not interested in it, but I still want to do cybersecurity. Maybe with time, I can now upgrade myself. With time, I can catch up on all of those areas, but I want to start with non-technical cybersecurity. So if that is the case, then that is a very nice career path. So like I said, compliance, endpoint security, GRC, security awareness, content writing, that's cybersecurity content writing, and all of that. Even cybersecurity journalism. You could have a blog, set up a blog, or write cybersecurity content for contribute to websites and blogs, news sites that have to do with that. So you are seeing things from with your cybersecurity eye. So all of these areas and more, as I explained in a video on my channel where I looked at, I think about 10 of it. So where you could go into cybersecurity with those non-technical, in those non-technical areas. But if you want to get into cybersecurity in the technical area, it then means that the question is, what do you want to do? So you have few areas. So technology is very wide. So as wide as technology is, that's how you have cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is going to piggyback on all the areas you have in technology. So when you have software developers, it then means you have software security. When you have data engineers, that means you have data security. When you have cloud computing, it then means you have cloud security. When you have what's it called? Network engineers, it then means you have network security. So as many as the area, when you have AI, right? AI, now you have to talk about data, AI, you now have IoT security. So anything that have to do with endpoints, anything that has to do with distributed systems, you have all of that. Same thing when you talk about cryptography, blockchain, and all of its application, then you also have blockchain security. So as many as all of those areas are, that's how you have security. So for somebody that says, okay, I don't want to do non-technical cybersecurity, I want to do technical cybersecurity. So it behoves on you to finish this foundational course and now start developing yourself in one or two of those technical areas. Because the idea is that you cannot protect what you cannot set up. You cannot protect what you cannot create.
You give this example. What you don't have, you can't give.
Yes, you cannot give what you don't have. So I normally give this example of if you have a building and you call different professionals to come and say, okay, this building is a kind of falling. This building is not strong again. We want to fortify this building. If you call an amateur to come and fortify the building and ask him where you're going to put the pillar, that guy is going to say, let's put a pillar in the middle of the building. True or false?
True.
Now, but if you call a builder amongst all the other professionals, doctors, lawyer, whatever, most of these other guys just say, okay, the center of the building, let's put the pillar there. If we put one or two pillars there, it is going to hold all of the building. But what a builder is going to do, because he can build, he can develop, He understands the tensile strength, the structural strength of all of the different parts of the building. He might be suggesting that, okay, let us put this building, let's put this pillar at one end.
Stress.
He's going to be saying, let's put it towards the end, towards, everybody will be saying, no, how can you put the pillar by the end? So, but he has looked at the building, he has analyzed the building and seen that, okay, this other part have enough tensile strength to be able to support those sections of the building, and where it's kind of weak is this other area. So he's going to be suggesting that. That's the same thing you have in cybersecurity. So if you have a domain knowledge in a particular area, you're going to do very well. So there is no shortcut to it. So that's why normally we advise and say there are two basic fundamentals that you need to understand when you want to go into technical cybersecurity. One of it is web. The second one is network. So when it comes to web, it doesn't matter the kind of programming language you want to go into, or you already have competence in. It doesn't mean just get up to an intermediate level. It can be mobile programming languages, it can be web programming languages, it can be software, it can be any language. It doesn't mean. At least for you to be able to have an intermediate level knowledge, you can be able to set up basic crude applications like we had yesterday in the channel. That is enough prerequisite for you to be able to start protecting web applications. And the thing is, because most things we have at enterprise level are somehow software based. Even these days, networks are software defined. Networks, imagine if you have a router, if you buy a router today, you could log into an IP address or a URL the manufacturer is going to give to you. ZTE, Huawei, any of this manufacturer, they'll give a URL that you can use, put in your admin or admin password on the router, and you can reboot the router. You are rebooting the router from the software, from your browser, and that router is going to reboot. You can recharge, you can do all of those things on the router without you having to go to command line or going to have physical access to the router. Same thing, you could restart a server, a physical network, remotely by just having access to that particular server or whatever through a URL. So a lot of things these days are actually software based. So once you start gaining some of those basic competence, it gives you a very huge edge. Even when you want to go into cloud security, for the fact that you can program in any language, it doesn't mean without Python, R, Perl, Java, C++, C#, it doesn't mean. Once you can program up to an intermediate level, it then means that every other programming language becomes very easy for you because they follow the same principles, the same standard. They all have just different ways to approach different things, right? So, and you could actually do things in your own way, or you can learn very, very fast if you're already comfortable with one language. If you could do JavaScript, it then means that you could switch to PHP, or you could do R, you could do Python. They have same basic principle, though they are completely different, right? And once you're done with that, the next thing that is going to be linked with your entire career as a security engineer is networking. So you cannot have IT infrastructure without network. Whether you're talking about IoT is Internet of Things. So that means that I want to control my phone, I want to control my AC, I want to control my door, I want to control my CCTV camera from my phone or from over the internet. That is Internet of Things, being able to control things over the internet. So either it's Internet of Things, either it's cloud, either it's website, whatever it is, it's all going to be on a network. It's going to be sitting on a PC that is on a network.
Exactly.
So networking, like I said, also, you must not be a guru. Once you are up to an intermediate level, you understand what a network is. You can check out the channel. I have a very complete series on introduction to networking. It's a Cisco course. The entire series, I think it's 14 or 17 modules that covers what a network is, different types of network, basics in routing, basics in switching, the OSI model, the different layers you have in your network. These are very, very huge fundamentals. So once you understand that, it then means that when you're using a cybersecurity software and it brings out a particular result, then you can interpret, you can tell. Let's say you use OWASP Zap and it brings out a result, or you use Nmap, it brings us a particular result. It tells you, okay, for this particular web application or for this particular network, these are the things I found out. These are the things that are susceptible to an attack. You can interpret. Because cybersecurity is not actually you using softwares, right? So that is just a part of cybersecurity. So I normally say cybersecurity is three things. The first thing is cybersecurity is you being able to, so if you're taking your notes, cybersecurity is your ability to be able to understand concepts, definitions, your ability to understand all of these areas in tech. So basically theory. So without theory, you cannot apply. So you cannot skip theory. You cannot just say, let's get to hands-on, 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 hands-on. So there's a lot of theory. Just like if you want to set up an application or set up a software, you need to be able to say, okay, how do I create? You need to understand programming logic. You need to say, okay, what's the architecture of my application? How am I going to set up my database? What's my database schema? What's going to be my primary keys? What's going to be my IDs? How is this database or this table linked to this table? Structurally, theory-wise, you need to understand how applications are set up. That is only when you can start talking about applying that to case studies. Same thing, if you say, okay, set up a network, you need to understand what are different types of network. What are going to be my end devices? End devices, I mean, my phones, my tablets, my printers, all of those items. What are my end devices? Then you need to understand what are my intermediary devices, things like my routers, my switches, or all of those guys. Then what are my connecting media? How will I connect to this particular network? So will I be using what's it called? Will I be using infrared? Will I be using wireless? Will I be using Bluetooth? Will I be using Ethernet cable, fiber optics? How am I connecting? So theory-wise, you need to be able to sketch your topology, sketch your network, and say, okay, I'm going to have a star topology, I'm going to have a bus topology, I'm going to have a hybrid system, I'm going to have 10 systems here, I'm going to connect it. As in topology-wise, either physical or logical, you should be able to sketch that out on paper, theory-wise, then before you now get to hands-on. So that's why I say in cybersecurity, there are three things. The first thing is theory. So don't run away from theory and don't let theory bore you. So theory is crucial, is fundamental to your succeeding in cybersecurity. Like I said, today's class is a checkup. It's like to prepare your mind, keep you informed on what we're going to be doing in the future. Then the second part, if you want to succeed in cybersecurity, is to understand tools. So you cannot say, I call it tools, techniques, tips, tricks. Tools, techniques, tricks, tips. So you cannot say, I know all the jargons, but they give you a particular tool and you cannot use it. Or they give you a particular operating system, let's say Linux or a Windows or a Mac operating system, or give you some software, you cannot use it. Or at times in cybersecurity, some things doesn't have to be software. Some things are just a particular technique of doing something. And you have some tools that are web-based tools, whereas some things are physical, not physical. You have some tools that are going to be installed on your PC, whereas some platforms, some tools are just web-based. You don't need to install anything and you can achieve what you need to achieve. So all of these tools, all of these tricks, all of these techniques, you need to also master them. So there's a combination between theory, definition, concept, then tools. So you cannot run away from tool and say, okay, I just understand it. Okay, let's see. Can you practicalize something for us? Can you? Then the last thing when it comes to cybersecurity is your ability to be able to do VAPT, countermeasures. So let me explain. So there's what we call vulnerability assessment and pen testing in cybersecurity. That's why in one of your labs, if you check the 3 weeks course we're running, one of the labs, we talked about VAPT case studies. So we're going to pick an application and we're going to try to do vulnerability assessment for the application. Then we're going to document it. Then we're going to report it. We can pick up a network, either a virtual network or a physical network. We can do vulnerability assessment. We can document it, and we can advise. It then means that one of the reasons why we need cybersecurity analysts is that people are going to create applications that are vulnerable, or people are going to find themselves using applications that are vulnerable. So they need cybersecurity analysts to kind of look at it and tell what is vulnerable in the application, what is vulnerable in the network, what is vulnerable in that data warehouse, what is vulnerable in that cloud system, right? So they will need a cybersecurity analyst to be able to check it, to do what we call vulnerability assessment. You're just trying to check what and what is vulnerable. So there are ways to do that. You can be using a software to do that, or you can be doing a manual testing. If you're using a software, it then means that you're going to ask yourself, is it a cloud platform? So I'm going to use a cloud vulnerability assessment tool. If is it a web application, then I'm going to use a web vulnerability assessment tool. Is it a network? Then I'm going to use a network vulnerability assessment tool. We're going to consider them in week 2, because in week 2, we're going to be examining quite a lot of vulnerability assessment and pen testing tools. Then we're going to pick some as case study for week 1. Now, VAPT is so crucial because without it, we won't be secured. So I talked about vulnerability assessment. Then what about pen testing? So pen testing is not just about looking at what is vulnerable. We want to go a step further to now try to simulate an attack to see if those things we found vulnerable, they can be exploited. Then, of course, one of the most important thing also is countermeasures. So cybersecurity analysts are always asked, what can we do? What do we need to do? So because if you tell us what we need to do, it then means that we're going to be secured. So like I said, your career as a cybersecurity analyst is hinged on 3 things. I call it the 33% rule. 33% of all the things you should know should be theory, should be knowledge-based, should be understanding tech. 33% of all the things you should know should be about tools, techniques, tricks, tips. 33% of the things you should know should be how to do vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, countermeasures, mitigating factors, whatever. Then, if you check it over 100, you still have 1% left. So I will normally say that, you see that 1%, there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot have 100% security. So note that for this fundamental course, we're going to be looking at all of this lab. I've already dropped them on the group. So cybersecurity job hunt, explore social engineering techniques, exploring the world of cybersecurity professionals, all the way to hardening a Linux system, right? Then you have the complete playlist that explains most of the modules here. I think there may be 1 or 2 modules that are not recorded. So we're going to be having an exam next week, which is going to be based on the slides you have. So you have to spend between now and next week's class to go through the slides you have. You can use the videos as a backup. We're going to do a short quiz. After the short quiz, we're now going to start examining each of these labs. So in the Zoom classes, I'm not going to be going through slides. Any of the trainers, myself, Jeff, or Tunde, or Engineer Kachi, nobody's going to be going through the slides. We're just going to be going through these case studies and through this hands-on and the labs you have. Okay, so that's all for today's introductory class. So next week, like I said, we're going to have a quiz, then we're going to start the labs. Please, who have questions?
Sir,
I'm also going to
thank you so much.
I'm also going to drop the non-technical career what's it called, options for cybersecurity, so that you can look at it, just to pose it with the explanation I've done with technical cybersecurity areas.
Thank you very much.